Neil.
To you, I will never kneel.
Inside a walls and trusted you alone.
Alas, Mr. Stark, I knew you well, sir. God, I miss that guy. Don't you, my dear? God, the day we get a rogue in an X-Men movie that we absolutely deserve, I will be crowdfunding the shit out of this.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
Eat lightning and shit thunder with Jason King on Kung Fu Hot Dog. Hail to the hot dog, baby.
But something that I haven't crowdfunded because I didn't go to the cinema to watch it was The Marvels, because thanks to the wonderful country of India, I got to watch it for free, like everybody else who doesn't want to hand over their hard-earned cash to evil Bob Iger. But before I get into my review, folks, you need to check this out. So 2 reviews that had me in absolute stitches. One was from Empire. Remember Empire many decades ago? I mean, it's actually from 1989 that it began. You know, it was the bastion of movie reviews. You know, when you didn't have Barry Norman to watch on TV and he wanted to vest your interest somewhere else, Empire magazine was that. And for a long time, they were pretty consistent with their reviews. But of course, we have people like Helen O'Hara, not related to Scarlett from Gone with the Wind, that's played by the once lovely Vivian Lee. But Miss O'Hara had a bit of shilling to do, because why? She says in her review here that the film, prior to its release, was getting attacked relentlessly. So quite clearly, she's feigning ignorance about the whole beyond the, or rather sort of the behind the scenes battles between Teyonah Parris and Brie Larson. And imagine if you get those two together in a room, it will be Deathmatch Supreme. And Supreme is something I'm going to come back to in a little while, folks. So she ignored those, the overinflated budget. And, you know, what does she go on to say here? Well, basically, at just under 100 minutes, this is a zippy, fast-paced film. And that's probably what's going to reignite the spark in the very dying MCU. Now, she has actually said here earlier on that the cinematic universe has been groaning under the weight of its own lore. Probably the only factual point that she made was correct. But of course, she's not the only person guilty of shilling for this movie that nobody asked for. You have this lady right here, Amelia Emberwing, and she looks rather pretty in her profile picture for IGN. By the way, you got to check out this ratio. Only 1,800 people liked this review, 15,000 downvoted her review for The Marvels. In the last 2 weeks, I witnessed IGN give The Marvels an 8 out of 10 and UFC 5 a 9 out of 10. It's safe to say this is a parody account and we should start treating as such. And I think that person is absolutely correct.
In hundreds of ways. But perhaps the most undervalued of those ways, particularly in superhero comics, is their ability to make you belly laugh while some wildly tragic things are unfolding. Sure.
Yeah, but she doesn't actually understand comic books, because the comic books I've read gave me occasional belly laughs, but certainly when there's tragic undertones going on, then why should that be put aside for the sake of humor? I mean, if Taika Waititi was making a comic, then I would expect that. No. It's a great film, folks. It's an absolutely great film. 8 out of 10 stars. Ooh, wow, I can hardly wait to see this movie. Well, hardly wait I didn't have to do, because I just stayed at home and watched it. But back to my review, ladies and gentlemen. So, oh God, wow. I need some of that later on, I really do. So how does this film begin at 1 hour and 38 minutes long? Well, it's actually quite funny, because Zor Ashton, is that how you pronounce her name? This is Tom Hiddleston's real life main squeeze. I mean, Tom, mate, you could have done better than taking up the leftovers, but who am I to judge?
Hi, I'm Zoe Ashton. That's me. Any haters out there can jog on.
and she plays Dar-Ben, hello, as opposed to Uncle Ben's. And I missed that rice and that logo because that was an iconic rice brand. But she finds a bangle, and no, I do not mean Susanna Hoffs, because by golly, if she popped up in this film, I would have lost my mind completely. But sadly, she soon realizes there is another half of this bangle to complete her conquest of the universe, and that belongs to Kamala Khan, as played by Iman Vellani, quite easily the best aspect of this film. And of course, as Miss Vellani's character later tells you, her grandma sent her the bangle, no, not that bangle, in the post. Literally, she did. And I will say this much, while the character of Kamala Khan is an obvious self-insert from Sana Amanat, of course, if you don't know who she is, she's the university graduate who left, infiltrated her way into the comic book scene because men can't have fun anymore, and proceeded to ruin everything, to the point where she was called out either this year or late last year for supposed misconduct with some male colleagues, because Miss Amanat is a very attractive woman. And of course, when she was questioned on Twitter about this, was there a comment available? Of course there isn't. Of course you can say Kamala Khan is also a reference to Kamala Harris, you know, lizard woman herself. Ugh. One thing I do say about Kamala that I think me and her have in common, well, we're both brownies and we both worship white heroes and heroines. So I've got to give her a pass, because quite clearly that character spoke to me in absolute volumes. Anyway, once the missing bangle mystery has been not resolved, but is getting underway, she manages, this is Dar-Ben. You can't call her Your Highness or Your Grace. No, you've actually got to address her as...
This is not what we agreed, Dar-Ben.
Suprema Dar-Ben.
And thankfully later on in the film, there is a prince that we meet, a prince in the La La Land created by Marvel, who refuses to bend the knee to her. So for him, I've got to give him a bit of a point too for that one. But yes, once she gets with the missing bangle that she has, she manages to cause a surge in the universe.
Get the fuck out of here! No, I cannot. It's serious because it's very important, base.
Which is picked up by Nick Fury at the Saber Station, and of course Teyonah Parris, who plays Monica Rambeau, don't push me. She's able to deduct what's going on, but then suddenly when the other Ms. Marvels or variants start using their powers, they start switching up with each other. So one will appear in your closet, one could appear in your toilet. You know, the actual fun they might have had with this kind of slipstreaming between the characters could have been funny. But guess what? It just gives you a nauseating headache. I'm surprised this movie didn't come with a warning about hyperkinetic editing will actually give you epileptical fits. I mean, it could happen. So if that does happen, don't blame me. Honestly, just call your local practitioner and they'll tell you what to do. And then when we do see Nick Fury, as played by the once great Sam Jackson, his first interaction with Carol Danvers, aka Hamburger, played by Brie Larson, the woman with the best breasts in the galaxy.
Hi, I'm Carol Danvers.
I'm Kamala Khan, but when I'm fighting crime on the streets of Jersey City, I go by Miss Marvel.
Oh, it's so good to hear from you, Mr. Fury, you know, the one-eyed wonder, because her fucking pussycat scratched his bloody eye out, didn't he, and made him blind. Not a lot happens after this film, actually. At this point, I'm sat there thinking, what are the big stakes here? Oh, that's it. Dar-Ben, sunshine is dwindling in her land. She needs to find other elements like earth, wind, and fire. You know, that great supergroup from the 70s and 80s. Boogie Woogie Land. No, we don't have them, unfortunately. She's after other elements, and she's prepared to sacrifice as many people as she wants to. I will say this much. If there was one version of Captain Marvel I would like to see, it will be this particular one. So if anybody has a crowdfunding project and it wants dollars from me to fund it, I'm your man. Give me a shout, give me a DM, and let's make shit happen. Unfortunately, we have to put up with 3 prissy women all covered up from head to toe, no cleavage showing, although again, Brie Larson does win the award for best cleavage in the MCU thus far.
I'm really sorry.
The interaction between the ladies is fine. I don't feel there's a real I think there's more of a chemistry with Iman Vellani and Brie Larson, because I suspect those two got on much more better than Brie did with her counterpart, Teyonah Parris. By the way, there was a real cringeworthy scene in the first 20 minutes where Nick Fury says to Monica Rambeau,
Hey, Black Girl Magic!
like the amount of reshoots and everything they did in this movie just had me scratching my head thinking, why on earth was this even allowed to be greenlit? Did Kevin Feige not have any say in this? And I tell you what, if you're going to the sublime and you're going to the ridiculous, I wouldn't even think the La La Land scene where we get a brief glimpse of Brie Larson's vocal talents again. If you want to see Brie Larson singing at her best, Scott Pilgrim versus the World is your best feature to watch. But in the La La Land sequence, she meets a prince she was briefly married to, but it was done out of an administrative reason rather than a legal one, so to speak. It was just like, I don't know, didn't care. I just want the film and time to move on, please, because I'm getting older. Every minute I watch this film. We get to a section where they have to evacuate the Sabre space station, and of course you've got Mr. Black man of diversity with a podgy body mumbling dialogue to an Oscar-nominated actor like Sam Jackson. The same Mr. Body Positivity who must have been watching episodes of Robin in the Hood from Mr. Director X and just mumbles his dialogue all the way through. You don't care for this character. You don't care if he gets blown up in the end. I didn't, unfortunately. That space cat that scratched out Nick Fury's eye has also birthed a litter all of a sudden. A litter of cats that go around swallowing up the humans so they can all escape that space station safe and sound without getting hurt. And what made this scene even more ludicrous is that they're playing Elaine Page's Memory all alone in the moonlight. I kid you not, that was playing in the background. Of course, you've got Cats on the screen. You're thinking of Cats by Andrew Lloyd Webber, the same Andrew Lloyd Webber who gave us the very based And after that, folks, the last scene with Dar Ben. Again, if you're looking for the proper Ronan the Accuser, Lee Pace from the original Guardians of the Galaxy film, I would highly recommend you watch him. Again, he was underutilized by James Gunn in that movie, but it was a far more interesting villain than what we get here with the female counterpart as played by Zor Ashton. Her fight with Carol Danvers is absolutely ridiculous. Before you blink an eye, it's all over. She dies through a, I don't know, honeycomb portal in space. She just went, ah! Nobody cares. And who has to save the day? Yes, Monica Rambeau. She goes in to try and patch the hole in the galaxy, but then something goes wrong. Carol Danvers goes after her. And then all of a sudden now, when they're back on Earth again, Kamala Khan and Carol Danvers are the only ones who show up. Which leads to one of the most painful post-credit scenes I've ever seen. So, you got Haley Steinfeld, beautiful woman that she is, as Kate Bishop from Hawkeye. You know, the bestest archer in the whole wide world. She's back in her apartment. There's a shadow looming in front of her, and it's Kamala Khan. And I kid you not, she is the new Nick Fury, because she says to Kate Bishop, I've got a new initiative I want you to be part of. The Young Avengers. Dun, 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 dun. Miss Villani, okay, I'll say this much. She won't get any stick because unlike Kelly Marie Tran from, was it Revenge of the Jedi? Sleeping with the Jedi? You know that third Star Wars film that nobody wanted in that prequel trilogy? You know, that chick, you know, she got roasted online for being Rose Tico. That's not going to happen to Miss Villani. She's a likable woman. And, you know, she gives her best. She does her best with the dialogue presented to her. And I never watched all of Ms. Marvel on Disney Plus. I couldn't be bothered to. It wasn't made for me. This film wasn't made for me. Unlike Spice World with the Spice Girls, because I had an unnervingly gorgeous crush on Melanie C from Liverpool, you know, Sporty Spice. The people like who said she wasn't the most attractive of the bunch. No, she was the most attractive of the Spice Girls. Spice World is a masterpiece. You know why? Because Richard E. Grant agreed to appear in the movie. So I would rather watch that and not feel that my soul has been violated for 1 hour and 38 minutes. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. The Marvels. Was it marvelous? It definitely wasn't, but I will say it was Marvel-less because nothing about this film told me it was a Marvel film. It was just like, what the hell's going on? I didn't see the Beast credits with Kelsey Grammer because the person in the cinema decided they had enough too and switched off the camera and walked out. So honestly, if I had to give this the maximum fart out of 10 in terms of 10 being the worst, well, yes, 10 massive break windows in the face of Kevin Feige, Nia DaCosta, and Teyonah Parris. Is what this movie deserves, because again, it wasn't made for me. It might be made for women, but then again, the same female audience the MCU enjoyed many years ago would turn out in their X-Force to see Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans get their tops off, because you can't avert the female gaze, ladies and gentlemen. So if you were me, and if I were you, and if you're literally feeling blue, then maybe you can join me joining you on the next video. Breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out.